For episode 99 of Unsealed, I'm throwing out the window the traditional episode structure where either I'm talking about one game in particular or maybe a series of games in particular. This time, I've picked 3 games from my original PlayStation library of sealed games that I have, and I'm just going to open those and we're going to talk about them, at least what my experiences are with each of the 3 games that I picked. They are games that I have played before. They are not games completely at random that I don't have any knowledge of or experience with. I do have some of those games that I'll get to in later episodes, but I thought this would be a good forerunner to episode 100, which will be coming next week. So the first of the 3 games is Breakout, off-the-wall fun from Atari. For the original PlayStation, Atari published games including Breakout, Missile Command. I believe that Activision did a version of Asteroids, where Atari's games from the early arcade days or the 2600 days were brought back and reimagined for the PlayStation era, and this is one of those games. There is a chicken on the front. I really don't understand why, although there is an egg there. And the back of the case says that bricks and mortar don't stand a chance. Yeah. The features. Yes, there are features. Exciting new power-ups and surprises, all new 3D interactive worlds and levels, competitive single or multiplayer action, and addictive fun for the whole family. I mean, the game's okay. It is a reimagining, and it does work as intended, but it's nothing that earth-shattering that is going to make you want to go back to it time and time again. It is like the arcade games. It is a time waster. You play it once or twice, and then you move on to something else, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and open this up, and we will talk more about it, as I still have 2 games that I'm going to get to. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to open this. There we go. I do have scissors on standby, but with the original PlayStation games, these tend to be a little bit tougher to use the scissors for. So we're just going to open it up just like that. And I believe if I do that right, opening the rest of it should be pretty easy. There we go. And we'll take the bottom off as well. For what it's worth, the shirt that I'm wearing today comes from Old Navy. Old Navy does have some video game-related shirts, so if you happen to be in a store, you can check that out. Some Nintendo and Sony shirts as well. When we open up the case, we do see our friend the chicken on the box art. I don't get it. There it is right there. There's the instruction manual as well, and of course, we'll take a look at that instruction manual and see what else is in store. The instruction manual is in black and white. It's not in color, of course. This is the year 2000, so we're getting toward the tail end of the PlayStation era. So it doesn't surprise me that it's in black and white and there's not a lot of effort put in here. The manual is about 30 pages in length, and it does tell you about some of the game modes here. And you can use the PlayStation mouse or Joy-Con controller with this, which is interesting, I think. The game, for whatever reason, has characters in it. I don't know how I feel about that. There are Bouncer, Daisy, Batnix, Coach Steel, and Bouncer's friends. You can angle the paddle using the L1, R1, L2, and R2 buttons. That's something I, for whatever reason, don't remember. There are shaped paddles. There's training modes here. There's a story mode. So there's certainly a lot of breakout action here. But as I mentioned, it is Breakout at its core. It is brick breaking. It's nothing as addictive as Arkanoid, for example, which did the formula better. But if you can find it for cheap for your PlayStation, there are worse games you can play, especially if you're a fan of these kinds of games. It is very simple to control, very easy to learn, and it is fun to play in short spurts. So that is the first of our PS Triple episode here. We will put this back and move on to game number 2. Game number 2 is what I like to call a guilty pleasure game. It is a game that is flawed, that a lot of people would probably be down on, but for me, it is one of those games that I can find myself playing for a few days at a time and then wind up putting it down for no apparent reason other than the fact that I'm ready to move on. Keep in mind that when this came out in 2000, the Tony Hawk games were still very popular, especially the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, one of the best PlayStation games of all time. And this game attempted to capitalize on that. Now, not so much like Grind Session, which we'd already opened, where it was basically a ripoff of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater formula, but this uses something completely different. This is Razor Freestyle Scooter, which was published by Crave Entertainment and developed by Shaba Games, who would later go on to develop Grind Session and then the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 ports for the original PlayStation. Curb thrashing is what is promised here. That's what it looks like on the back of the case. I'll read to you what the back of the case says. It's kind of hard to read because it's dark writing against a dark background. I don't understand that either. Razor Freestyle Scooter is the opportunity to take your scooter into the fun box. Wow, that's risky. Control urban thrashers who cut through massive radical environments, perform tight tricks like heel flips. Wow, I can't talk today. Candy bars, cans, and Superman. Add to the time bar by pulling off Fat Air, P-H-A-T. Remember Baby Fat? Anyway, Fat Air on insane ramps and half pipes. Grind ledges, high-flying wires, barrels, and benches. Collect tokens scattered throughout each level to unlock the coolest parks and characters. That is probably the coolest feature of this game, is it wasn't necessarily time-based, but it was kind of like what we would see in Aggressive Inline later, where the time would go as long as you could keep your energy up, and you kept your energy up by doing tricks. If you ran out of energy, you ran out of time, and that was that. Other than that, the game played a lot like Tony Hawk. Key features, and I'm sorry I have to keep looking through my glasses like this, but again, the writing is very hard to read. Over 45 unique tricks and moves. Combine them together to form infinite maneuvers. That's kind of cool. 3 hyper-realistic levels full of pipes, jumps, and rails. It isn't very much. I believe when this came out, it was only $20 new. 9 diverse riders. Save the Razor crew by grinding, jumping, and throwing down tricks, I should say. Customize your ride with different colors of Razor scooters, and there are 6 secret levels as well. So let's go ahead and open this up, and I will tell you why this game, I found it to be so addictive, provided, of course, I can get this open. There we go. Okay. So we will try and take this off so you can see. That's the whole idea of the series, is to be able to open this game and take the wrapping off it while you can watch. So there it is. And yes, this does have the label at the top as well. So what is it about this game? Well, first of all, as a fan of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, this plays very much like that, and as a result, it was, for me, a lot of fun to play. It was a bit on the simpler side, and again, there's not as much variety in terms of level design or in terms of tricks as there are in the Tony Hawk games, but nevertheless, the game is a lot of fun to play. And something that is very underrated about this game, the soundtrack is pretty darn good for artists I had never heard of. Let's go ahead and open this up so I can show you what's on the inside. On the inside, we have a silver and brown color scheme with the Razor Freestyle Scooter logo and the skater, or the scooter rider, on the front. And we'll take the instruction manual out. The instruction manual is in black and white. The instruction manual is but 15 pages long. The thing about the soundtrack, and I've never heard of any of these bands until I played the game, X Number 5, Never Too Late, Sick Shift, and the Sloppy Meat Eaters, and 3 Foot. I can't forget about 3 Foot, of course. So yeah, this game screen is going to look pretty familiar if you played the Tony Hawk games. And again, Shaba's main raison d'etre really was to emulate, while not directly copy, what Neversoft had done with its skateboarding games. Again, to Shaba's credit, we had this game right here. We also had Grind Session, 2 games that were basically Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but with some differences. And then, of course, Activision just decided if you can't beat them, join them, so they brought them on to port the Tony Hawk 3 and 4 over to the PlayStation. They did a pretty good job with that, I must admit. But you're doing all this on a Razor Freestyle Scooter, so if you're not big onto those, this game may not be for you. It's definitely targeted towards a younger audience. I like to compare this a lot to Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure that Activision published for the PS2, which is very kid-oriented, it's very Disney-oriented, but still plays just like the Tony Hawk games. And that game, by the way, was developed by Toys for Bob, which just recently did the Spyro remasters for the PS4 and the Xbox One. All right. Trivia time is over. That is game number 2. It is a game I still play today, honestly. In fact, after this video is over, I may go and get a few sessions in because I do like this game. It's one of those guilty pleasure games that I don't feel bad about going back to. Whenever I feel like playing for half an hour and just having fun, I almost always get rid of my memory card save too. I just go back and I play it, and everything just kind of comes back to me. So yeah, that's Razor Freestyle Scooter. There was also a game called Razor Racing, by the way. Don't get that one. That game is just, it's not good. All right, one more game. And this game is one that I opened up sealed, but before I started the Unsealed series. I remember opening this up. I knew nothing about this game, and I blame James Rolfe. I blame Mike Matei. I blame Cinemassacre for this because they did a Christmas-themed AVGN mini episode surrounding or revolving around this game. And when I found out about it, I had to have it. I put it on my Christmas list. I got it, and I opened it up. I believe that was 2014, right around there that I wound up getting the game. And I did open up. I don't remember where the video is, however. And I got this as part of a lot that I got during Congo at Retro Games Plus in Newington. So I'm going to open it again and talk a little bit about it officially here on the Unsealed series. I am talking about VIP featuring Pamela Anderson. This game is unique because it combines two styles of gameplay that pretty much nobody except me likes. It combines quick time events, or QTEs, and it combines like a virtual cop kind of move or targeting reticle around and shoot everybody. It combines those two things into a video game revolving around a TV series that next to nobody remembers or even watched back in 2000. It did star Pamela Anderson. It was about an all-female security company where the head of the company, which is Pamela Anderson, couldn't stand guns. She hated guns, and yet right there on the cover, you actually see Pamela Anderson packing heat. So go figure. Action never looked this good, this game threatens on the back of the case. Join forces with the lethal and sexy Valerie Irons, Pamela Anderson, and the rest of the VIP team as you set out on crime-busting missions to protect a well-known cosmetic surgeon from Los Angeles' most notorious mobster. Exploding bombshells control the hot heroines of VIP, Valerie Irons, Tasha Dexter, and Nikki Franco, along with the men of VIP, Quick Williams, that's an unfortunate name, and Johnny Lowe. VIP Uncut, play through your own interactive episode loaded with VIP's combustible mix of gunplay and high-caliber humor? I don't know how I feel about that one. Furious action, survive the intense combo rhythmic action with sharp wits and furiously fast fingers. There is just so much wrong with the back of this case. Minigame bonus. Over 10 thumb-thrashing mini-games to conquer. This does require one memory card block, and it is vibration function compatible. Because if we're going the whole double entendre route, you might as well go the whole way. Again, this is what the back of the case looks like. Unfortunately, this copy of the game does have a serious crack in the case, but that's going to happen with games that are old enough to vote. So let's go ahead and let's open this last game up here, if I can get to it. And I will talk a little bit more about VIP. Maybe. There we go. Even though I'm opening upside down. By the way, does have the logo at the top there. I have to admit, I am a sucker for games like this. I know a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people think that they're shallow. And James is right. I mean, you don't have to really play the game. You can watch someone else play it with a controller in your hand and just press the controller inputs and you're not missing anything. It is not the most action-packed of games. It is not the most difficult of games, although the harder difficulties will lessen the amount of input time that you have, so you have to be pretty quick with your fingers. But nonetheless, I find the game to be fun. Now, it's not a good-looking game, and we will get to that here in a second. And there goes the case. See, it already cracked. The disc is just grayscale, VIP featuring Pamela Anderson. No real big deal there. And we'll take a look at the instruction manual, which is not going to be very in-depth, as the game is not very in-depth. The manual is... it actually is 19 pages long. It looks like this game, based on based on its development, looks like it was developed in China, actually. There's a lot of Chinese names here, although there's no information about who the development team is, what the name of the development team is. But there we go. We talk about the entire VIP team. If you're interested, Pamela Anderson there as Valerie Irons, Tasha Dexter. I only watched this show once, and I'll admit that if I was interested in anyone, it's going to be Kay Simmons down there. She is the computers and communications expert, and that's just very similar to what I am. But I only watched the show once, and I just thought that she was the coolest character on the show, so go figure. Very easy to play, very simple to play. Graphically, it does not look very good. You have to understand that by now in 2001, we are at the end of the PlayStation era. We are into the PlayStation 2 era, and as a result, the PlayStation's been pushed as far as it can possibly go. And at this point, anyone who's making new games for the system is probably just taking the budget way out just to kind of push something to get a little bit more money out of the venerable console or platform before it became obsolete. So that is a look at VIP. If you have not played it, I highly recommend you taking a trip over to Cinemassacre, to the Cinemassacre YouTube channel, and check out the review that AVGN did on VIP, and you'll understand why I've said a lot of what I've said about this game. Unfortunately, the case is kind of shot, so this won't really replace the one I own. This will just be an extra one that I have. So that's it for episode 99. I hope that you enjoyed it. 3 games completely at random. The first game being Breakout. It's okay. It's a game that I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to recommend, but if you find it for cheap, I certainly recommend giving it a shot, especially if you're a fan of the source material, because Breakout is a game that, if you grew up playing it, remains fun today, even though it's been done better by other companies. Razor Freestyle Scooter is one I do recommend, especially if you like extreme sports games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and I've said that a bunch in this video already to the point where they're probably going to dock me royalties. The game is fun to play. The soundtrack is underrated. It is definitely aimed at a younger audience, but that doesn't make it a bad game as long as you understand that going in. And then, of course, VIP is what VIP is. It is a hybrid of a timing-based QTE game along with some Virtua Cop kind of shoot at the reticle rail shooter kind of levels as well to try and keep things interesting. It is not the best game out there, but if you find it for cheap, and I got my copy, I think, for $5, and that was new, then you should be able to get it pretty cheap just to laugh at it, if nothing else. I mean, if we can still laugh at Superman 64 20 years later, then I'm sure we can laugh at VIP as well, especially if you find it on the cheap. As always, I thank you very much for checking out this and every episode of Unsealed to this point. Remember, next week is episode 100. I'm very excited to bring that to you. I hope you tune in then. Until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you later.